One semester, I learned that there were several classical musicians signed up in my course. For the very last class of my semester, I stood aside while they sat in chairs up front and played a Mozart quartet. Not a customary finale to a class in political theory, but I wanted the class to understand that politics is pointless if it does nothing to enhance the beauty of our lives. Political discussion can sour you. We needed some music. In the spring of 1988, I made a sudden decision to quit teaching. After 30-odd years in Atlanta and Boston and 3 visiting professorships in Paris, I surprised myself by this because I love teaching, but I wanted more freedom to write, to speak to people around the country, to have more time with my family and friends. I also look forward to pursuing my interests in writing plays. I had watched all of my family members get into theater. Mila and Roz had acted in Atlanta and Boston. Jeff had made his life. And when the Vietnam War ended and I felt some breathing space, I wrote a play about Emma Goldman, the anarchist feminist who, at the turn of a century, created a sensation all over the United States with her daring ideas. Emma was first produced in New York at the Theater for the New City, and Jeff directed it. I enjoyed the idea that my son and I were working together as equals. But no, he as a director was in charge. It was a warm and wonderful collaboration. The play was then staged in Boston, brilliantly directed by Maxine Klein. And both theater critics and audiences were enthusiastic. It ran for 8 months, the longest running show in Boston in 1977. There were more productions in New York, London, Edinburgh, and then translated to Japanese, a tour of Japan. I caught the fever of a theatrical world and was never cured. News of my leaving Boston University seemed to spread. My last class was especially crowded, with people there who were not my students standing against the wall, sitting in the aisles. I answered the questions about my decision, and we had a final discussion about justice, the role of the university, the future of the world. Then I told them that I was ending the class half an hour early, and explained why. There was a struggle going on between the faculty at the BU School of Nursing and the administration, which had decided to close the school down because it was not making enough money. And in fact, firing the nursing faculty. The nurses were picketing that very day in protest. I was going to join them, and I invited my students to come along. Roz had given me that idea the evening before. When I left the class, about 100 students walked with me. The nurses, desperately needing support, greeted us happily, and we marched up and down together. It seemed a fitting way to end my teaching career, and I always insisted that good education was a synthesis of book learning and involvement in social action, that each enriched the other. I wanted my students to know that the accumulation of knowledge, while fascinating in itself, is not sufficient, as long as so many people in the world have no opportunity to experience that fascination. Thank you.
And next up we have Brandon, Brooke, and Manuel. Give you a round of applause. Also right.
Okay, that works. Okay, so I guess we're going to do a series of 3 poems. One by Marlowe, one by Raleigh, and one by Dunn. And they're kind of responses to each other. And first off, it starts with Marlowe's. Thank you. Okay, and his is called The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove, the valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods to sleepy mountain yield. And we will sit upon rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle embroidered with the leaves of myrtle, a gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair lined slippers for the cold with buckles of purest gold, a belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. The shepherd's swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love.
This is the nymph's reply to the shepherd. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Time drives the flocks from field to fold, when rivers rage and rocks grow cold, and Philomel becometh dumb, the rest complains of cares to come. The flowers do fade, and wanton's fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. A honey tongue, a heart of gall, in fancy spring, but sorrows fall. The gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten, in folly ripe, in season rotten. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, thy coral claps and amber studs, all of these in me no means can move, to come to thee and be thy love. But could youth last and love still breed, had joys no date, nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move, to live with thee and be thy love.
The bait. Come live with me and be my love, and we will some new pleasures prove of golden sands and crystal brooks, with silken lines and silver hooks. There will the river whispering run, warmed by thy eyes more than the sun. And there the enamored fish will stay, begging themselves they may betray, when thou wilt swim in that live bath. Each fish which every channel hath will amorously to thee swim, gladder to catch thee than thou him. If thou to be so seen best loth, by sun or moon thou darkenest both, and if myself have leave to see, I need not their light, having thee. Let others freeze with angling weeds, and cut their legs with shells and weeds, or treacherously poor fish beset with strangling snare or windowy net. Let coarse bold hands from slimy nest the bedded fish and banks outrest, of curious traders sleeves silk flies bewitch poor fish's wandering eyes. For thee thou needst no such deceit, for thou thyself art thine own bait. That fish that is not catched thereby, alas, is wiser far than I.